Hello, everybody, and welcome back to our next emergency episode where we are going to be having a look at weapons because the article just dropped. Now, usually when me and Lee did this on Wednesday and Monday, I think it was Lee, we were like straight off the mark because the articles were really simple and really clear and easy to understand. But there was an awful lot said in this article and an awful lot unsaid as well. But we'll get to the article in a bit. First of all, just a quick plug. Just to remind you guys, if you aren't already signed up to our Patreon, so we have over 1,000 members on our Patreon as it currently stands, which is absolutely amazing. We've got an awesome community of Heresy enthusiasts. We basically give it away free, don't we, Lee? I mean, it's basically you can sign up. Literally, like you can get a 7-day free trial. Have a look at our campaign that we've currently got going on to celebrate.
Fuck us off and never look at us again.
Second edition. But it would be great to have you. And if you enjoy our content, make sure you sign up. As I say, we're basically just giving it away free. So make sure you check it out.
If you manage to get through all the content in your 7-day window, you
deserve to get it free. Anyway, but the thing why you are here. So let's take a look. So we had a article drop on WarCom, and it talked all about weapons. Now, I think we all suspected this was going to be a juicy article, but I think for me, it's beyond my wildest dreams and fantasies in terms of juiciness. And my phone is so hot right now, I can't even pick it up. It's going off. It's just going off every 5 seconds.
You have some shit dreams and fantasies, mate. Seriously. You need to up your game there.
Well, yes, I agree. Right. Anyway, but let's have a look at the headlines. So some things that stand out. Now, we won't go into these individually right this second, but these are just the broad brushstrokes, and then we'll get into the nitty gritty of them. Producer Kerry has been feverishly writing down everything that he's noticed, everything that's going on WhatsApp groups, anything that me and Lee miss, he will make sure he'll beat us with his whip and make sure that we include it in this. So the first thing is vehicle damage table. Does it exist? Does it not? Melta's gone to AP2. So what does that mean? But we'll talk about that one more in a bit. Dreads look weaker because weapons look stronger. We will definitely get to that when we look at Melta. It looks like the time of the Dreadnought is over and the time of the Melta has come. Predators could be 6 hull points. It said in the article that tanks are going to be more hull points just generally, but the way that it spoke about the article spoke about Predators, it could be 6 hull points, 5 hull points, but max 6 by the looks of things. Doradios could be 6 wounds or less. Was another thing that was drawn out. Eternal Warrior exists, but in a slightly different form, and we'll get to that again a little bit later. You can, and this is a big one, this is one I really want to discuss at the end of the show, you can move and shoot as normal, but you gain buffs for being stationary. So if you've got a heavy weapon like a heavy bolter or a Lascannon, you can still move and shoot. It doesn't look like you're snap firing anymore, but if you do stay still, it looks like you're going to get extra buffs, be it that extra damage or an extra shot. Instant death looks like it's out, but Eternal Warrior has been adjusted. So Eternal Warrior doesn't ignore instant death anymore because it looks like that is gone. It doesn't mean that it has gone, but it just looks like it's gone. But Eternal Warrior is slightly different. And then finally, the other big one I want to discuss is what is going to happen to Death Guard. If all legions can move and shoot their heavy weapons, what do we think Death Guard is going to look like?
Just a quick one on that. Do we actually know that heavy is no longer snap firing, or did they just not include that?
It doesn't say that it's not snap firing, but I think the article infers quite clearly that you're just firing at your normal ballistic.
Because when I read it, I just thought they just haven't put the whole rule up.
Yeah, I did. Kerry, what was your thoughts? Did you think it suggested to me that you just shot as normal?
I read it as they shoot as normal. The fact that I think they have copy and pasted the whole rule because they also talk about the other parts, like the expanded text talks about heavy bolter doing the extra shot when it's stationary. Yeah. Then the text talks about other weapons being lower AP or extra damage when stationary. So the rules expanded more than they talk about. So I think that's the rule in full.
Okay. Yeah, same here. Okay, well, let's have a look at the article and how it was broken down. And we'll just pick out the headlines because you guys can read the articles yourself. So, big change. The bread and butter of the Age of Darkness warfare, the bolter has changed because it is now 2 shots. It's not a rapid fire weapon anymore. It's just 2 shots all of the time. So it's range 24. Firepower, is that what that stands for? Two firepower, two
shots.
Yeah.
Range strength 4, AP 5, and damage 1. It's got no special rules, and it's bolt. Of course, the bolt might come up in things like Legion traits and things like that. Certainly, there was like subcategories for weapons. So like Imperial Fists. If you are new to the Horus Heresy, you're looking into getting into it for the first time. Auto weapons and bolt weapons, Imperial Fists have +1/+2 hit with them. But this is a big change, and I think this is going to change. This is going to affect every single Legion. Because they just get two shots now. And then the other thing they mentioned was that Fury of the Legion is still in, and that is just an additional shot. So the example they gave was if you have a squad of 20 tactical Marines, if they Fury of the Legion, they're now shooting 60 shots. Presumably, though, Fury of the Legion is still, you get it if you stay still, which I suppose is a bit of a theme, isn't it? You kind of, if you stay still, you get more stuff, more buffs, and that's what they've kind of applied to the heavy weapons, but we'll get to that in a bit. And then they gave us a little asterisk in terms of the rules here as well, right at the bottom of the page, which and Kerry noticed this, I think, as well, in terms of kind of wounding and things like that. But you roll a 3, roll a 4, and then hope they roll a 2, kind of describing what we all know and love in terms of kind of hitting and then wounding and then kind of failing those saves. So does this mean Artificer armor isn't in? I'm not sure. I don't know, but we'll have to wait and see. Lee, what's your thoughts on bolters becoming 2 shots?
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, whatever. Really, like it's obviously good. I don't know.
Difficult without context, I guess, but I don't hate it. I like that they've got more firepower. That's
it kind of always made more sense that they could just like start shooting lots the closer they were.
Yeah.
But, I mean, what makes sense in a future super duper human space marine dude?
Yeah,
so,
not wrong.
yeah, I mean, obviously, we don't know what's going on with the rest of the game, but it makes your average tack squad that little bit more punchier, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think
now you're just shooting at 24 inches.
That is fine. So I think one of the things I would say is I read this at the start of the article and I was like, Tac Marines, as you say, they're going to become a little bit more punchier. But the problem is they're punchier in the context of now, if they had 2 shots apiece. The problem is if all weapons get better, especially if you don't move and shoot, it just means then, are they still a better, like a more competitive choice in comparison to other weapons, or actually just still going to go, oh, well, I'd rather have this, like, heavy bolter squad over and I think that's the issue, isn't it? Ultimately, like it is fine in isolation, and it's good that they get an extra shot and they lose rapid fire. But if all weapons just become better, then it's all relative against each other, I guess. So
something to tease out is that they've lost rapid fire rule. There's no mention of the assault weapon type. When we talk about Melta gun stat line later, that hasn't got the assault weapon anymore. So maybe you can double tap your bolter and charge now.
Yeah. Oh, Kerry, that's good. That's why you produce the show, and me and Lee are just the eye candy. That's the reason why you produce it. Right? Okay, cool. Let's have a look at what's next then. That's a really good point.
Fucking huge, actually, isn't it? Yeah, you can just
hose people down and charge as well.
And charge, yeah.
Let's have a look what's next.
Unless you're pinned or whatever the other things were.
One's up.
Cool. So this was the start of, I thought, some big changes. So it described the heavy bolter. Now, I thought the heavy bolter was actually quite a good choice in 2.0, especially with the rise of Thalax and things like that, and more Mechanicum on the table. So I'm not sure necessarily I would have said that it needed a change, but we were introduced to the heavy X rule. Now, what the heavy X rule does, basically, if you weapons with a heavy X special rule gain +1 to a characteristic when stationary. Now, in this example that they're given with the heavy bolter, if you stay still, you get 4 shots, and if you move and shoot, you get 3 shots. So it's still kind of the heavy bolter that we know and love, but if you move with it, you get 3 shots now. So yeah, I thought it was fine. I tell you what I absolutely love, and Kerry, you kind of mentioned this when we did the last show, which is they've got that in bold, that's one sentence that basically sums up the longer rule. Like, that's just Love that. Absolutely love that. If that's a thing all the way through with all kinds of weapons, that will make me very, very happy. Lee, thoughts on this? Heavy X rule? All happy?
So my only thoughts were remain stationary in the controlling player's previous movement phase.
Oh.
So that reads to me that you have to stay still for 2 movement phase, or does it mean literally the movement phase that has just been?
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah. That makes in the previous movement phase. Yeah. So
is that the movement phase that has just literally been, or was it your previous turn?
Okay, that's interesting. I'm going to say it's just the one that's just been.
Yeah, that's how I would say it, but I just read that and I was like,
yeah,
previous movement phase. But yeah, now I think about it, your previous movement phase is the one that's just been. It's a weird way to word it. You could have just put control player's movement phase
in your movement phase. Yeah. I see.
But one thing I will say with these rules that we've read so far is, they have used, 1 paragraph there, whereas in second edition they'd have used about 5 paragraphs to write that rule there. So I'm happy so far to see that they aren't just throwing up a fucking dictionary to try and write rules.
A pithy paragraph, isn't it? Yeah. The other thing, so we're going to look at heavy damage in a bit, but it'd be interesting to see whether there's the heavy X or, say, heavy range, for example. Like, if you stay still, will a weapon get better range, like a conversion beamer or something like that?
Yeah.
The old salvo rule.
Yeah, exactly.
Remember
right.
that,
like if you stay still, will the range strength increase as well? So this is.
But
yeah.
I do like this. I like the fact that you're having to make decisions. It's the the decision making is in the rules of the weapon. Like, do I move these and I lose shots?
Yes.
But I need to move them to get more people to shoot, or I need to move towards that objective to counter a scoring unit or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So I like the fact that they are adding decision making.
Yeah.
Without adding particularly complicated. I mean, it's just heavy FP. Like, cool.
Yeah. And the other thing I would say is that it might encourage, rather than particularly, because the problem with heavy weapon squads is it encouraged particularly static play in your backfield. Whereas
unless you're a Death Guard player.
Unless you're a Death Guard player. Or, a good example was like Imperial Fist Iliastus assault squads, where they would just like hop out of a rhino and start like blitzing things down, but they were so much more mobile than everybody else's heavy support squads because they were obviously assault weapons. So it'll be interesting to see whether in this edition, just by virtue of the fact that heavy weapons seem to be able to shoot at full BS and move, even if they've got a slight debuff on them, whether it will become a more mobile game as a result of that. So, Kerry, anything to draw out there? Anything that we've particularly missed? Or you reckon we've covered everything?
No, I reckon there'll be something like vehicles always count stationary for the purpose of this. Like a vehicle heavy bolter will always be 4 shots, maybe.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, that's a good point, actually. Yeah.
Unless it depends if we have different like combat speed and whatnot for vehicles in the next phase.
And then it will count as stationary if it moves within 6 or within half or something.
But they might just get rid of that, mightn't they?
Yeah. Cool. Okay, let's have a look at what's next, because this is where it's going to become very, very tasty, because Lascannons get heavy D. So essentially what's going to happen with Lascannons now, so rather than changing the FP, it's going to change the damage. So Lascannons, if they stay still, will cause 1 additional damage, so damage 2. But if they move, they cause damage 1. Now, a couple of things to draw out. It is still strength 9. It is still AP2, but instead of having Sunder, it has now got Armor Bane. So, Lee, when we spoke on Wednesday, you were like, hopefully the age of the Lascannon is over. This looks still like it's going to be pretty good to me. What Armor Bane is, so whether it's still...
this is the thing, isn't it? We don't actually know.
I suspect it will be the same.
I think my hunch is the same.
The Melta gun, which we'll get to in a minute, says the Melta rule gives it armor bane and the extra damage thing. So that 2d6 is the hallmark of a Melta weapon. Always has been.
Same. And then the other thing to say is that a stationary legionary arm with a Lascannon can kill a Terminator. So that suggests that Terminators is going to be 2 wounds a piece. And that's also another clue that instant death is probably gone. It's now down to damage. But it can't kill a Saturnine Terminator who has 3 wounds. So we got confirmation the Saturnine Terminators are in fact 3 wounds now. But obviously it's only going to knock off 2 of those wounds if it stays stationary. So
or maybe Terminators will be toughness 5.
Oh, maybe. Oh, yeah, that's a very good point. Yeah, okay, I hadn't considered that. Yeah, good point, completely. So the Age of the Laz, it still looks like it is here, but really the absolute winner of 3.0, according to this article, is Melta. So let's have a goosey gander at Melta. So it wasn't. So what caused a lot of confusion for me here, and I don't know if it caused confusion for you guys at home, but they chose a weapon which is basically like double the strength is 6 and then half the range is 6 as well. So working out exactly what Melta 6 meant was a little bit, I was struggling to do that. But it looks like Melta 6 is the range. So within 6 inches, which is just half the range, which is 12 for Melta, Melta, it grants the Armor Bane within 6 inches and doubles damage to a mighty 6 as well. Enough to pop a Duradio Dreadnought or a Predator tank in a single hit. So a couple of things. Let's do the weapon stats first of all. So range 12, 1 shot. It's strength 8, as we've come to expect. It is now AP2. So this is a massive change from first and second edition, where it was AP1. So it was massively reliable for blowing up tanks. But we did have a quick discussion before we came on, which is that if this is gone to AP2 now, perhaps there is no damage table, or perhaps the damage table has changed, or perhaps you can't explode things in the way that you could before. I don't know. So it's going to be interesting to see if there is any weapons that are AP1 or conversion beamers at long range, AP2. I don't know. So it's going to be interesting to see. And then a couple of other things to pull out of this is that a Duradio is clearly going to be 6 wounds or less, because if it does a mighty 6 damage within half range, it's just gonna go. And now, correct me if I'm wrong, Kerry. Here, it's just 1 dice, isn't it? It's 1 dice, and then if you fail that, it will cause that amount of damage.
That
right?
is what we managed to infer from the half-page preview they showed at the stream. Yeah.
So that suggests to me that Dreadnoughts no longer are going to rule the roost. If you can just blow them up with 1 Melta shot within 6 inches, like it suggests to me that.
Be interesting to see if Combi Melta still has that same rules. Like you'll stick a Combi Melta on every character because that's an anti-Dreadnought fuck off bubble.
Yeah. But not only that. I mean, let's imagine a situation where multi-melters are still twin linked, and now you can walk around with your multi-melter and just being like, oh, bam, Contemptor gone, boom, Contemptor gone. Those multi-melter walking squads are going to be invaluable just for blowing up people's Dreadnoughts. You only need 1 to go through, apparently, within 12 inches of a multi-melter if it's like Melter 12, and you're just like, that Dreadnought's gone, mate. So maybe it's maybe they haven't nerfed Dreadnoughts. They've just made all the weapons for killing them that much more
everything
strong.
else better. We're not going to nerf Dreadnoughts. Just going to make everything else in the game better.
Anything else to draw out of this one? We covered everything on this.
No, I mean
Dreadnoughts are obviously the screwed guys, but anything multi-wound is going to have danger here. Like a Demon Prince Sovereign still exists.
Yeah, 100%.
He's dead.
It's fucking insane, isn't it? Really,
it's pretty nuts.
Like a 5-man support squad of melter guns is just going to dominate, isn't it? You're going to have to deal with that.
But the thing is, if you can suppress them, like that's the other thing.
Yeah,
you're just going to constantly be like, right, that melter squad, I need to suppress them. We haven't seen any rules though which seem to have like suppress built into them.
No,
as of yet, right? Because like the heavy bolter doesn't seem. It's not like, oh, this causes a suppress check or whatever. So
true.
Right, let's have a look at what is next. All right, so next up, let's talk about Eternal Warrior. So Eternal Warrior is in, but it looks like it's going to change. As we said, it looks like Instant Death is out. If Instant Death is out, it might well be Murderous Strike is out. Again, just conjecture. So not every target will die so easily. Most tanks have more hull points than they did in the last edition to compensate for the fact that some guns are better at causing damage, while some units, Primarchs in particular, have Eternal Warrior X, reducing the number of wounds they take for each hit. So this feels to me like it will be Eternal Warrior 1, and that means that all damage is just reduced to 1. So does that would that kind of square with what your predictions are?
Reduced to 1 or reduced by 1?
Reduced to 1, but maybe it could be reduced by 1. But the problem is you've got multiple damage. So I would have thought Eternal Warrior 1 would always be that any damage you cause, it just always counts as 1, right?
Oh, I don't know. I would have guessed it was what you reduce the damage by.
Oh, interesting. Okay. But what if you had
to a minimum of 1?
To a minimum of 1. Interesting. Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah, interesting. Kerry, what do you reckon?
I'm erring more on, and now you've said it, I'm erring more on the side to reduce it to 1, because otherwise we've seen Vulcan's stat line. He's got 7 wounds, whatever it was. Right now, 2 melter guns kill him. Dead.
Yeah.
So
true. That's fucking hilarious.
Yeah. So it's I reckon
killed by a melter gun.
My gut is Eternal Warrior. It will be Eternal Warrior 1. That's where I'm going.
Interesting.
Cool. Right. Well, let's have a look at what is next. So, disintegrators, they are really trying to hammer us hard with these disintegrators. At every opportunity, they are trying to sell them to us. So, we saw them turn into like vaporized dust, didn't we? Sort of blue dust when they went into action. So, disintegrator rifles aren't quite as bad as I thought they would be. It looks like the time of the melter is here. It's range 24. It's one shot. It is strength 4. So doesn't seem too, it's not necessarily, you're not wounding on 2s on that, right? It's AP3, so it's going to go through infantry like a hot knife through butter, and it's damage 2. It's also got the overload 1 special rule. So these are high risk, high reward weapons. Overload 1 means that any rolls of 1 to hit your target, your own squad, but in return you get a gun that punches right through enemy power armor with enough force to stop a veteran legionary in his tracks. So a couple of things to unpick. To me, it still seems like veterans are going to be a 3-up save, but they are going to be 2 wounds, because the way that they're speaking about it, if it kind of shoots back on itself, the guy holding it, he's got 2 wounds, he's got a 3-up save, it's just going to blow him up straight away, right? These aren't quite as devastating as I thought. I thought we were going to see some mad, like D10 or something like that, right? But this isn't quite as powerful as I thought it would be. I still think Melta is going to be the obvious choice for everyone to take, right?
They're only AP3, which I think helps balance them a lot. It means your elites are going to be going off stuff like save, so it's for you guys. Overload 1's interesting because that implies that obviously right now you have gets hot. On a 1, you take a wound. Overload brackets number implies that there will be overload 2 or overload something else. So guns that are more unstable.
Yeah. So if you're a Moritat and you've got a double plasma, you might be overload 2, for example, right? And it might be like you blow yourself up on a 2. Yeah. Okay. Some cool things to pick up on that one. Let's have a look at what is next. So we then went to close combat weapons. I don't think there was anything too surprising with this. The biggest change, I think, is that the power axe has changed quite significantly from what we understand as a power axe. But what I'm hoping with this is that it makes weapons, there isn't just such an obvious answer or choice to weapons, and I think everybody's kind of quite curious about the Thunderhammer. It would have been great had they showed us the Thunderhammer stats against the Power Fist stats. That would have really got tongues wagging. It did mention that every model comes with a basic, or every warrior comes with a basic close combat weapon. The sword, though, is at initiative. It's your base attacks, it's strength, whatever your base strength is. It's AP3, as we would expect. It's damage 1, which is kind of what we know and understand already. And then it's breaching 6-up. Was it rending 6-up before, or was it breaching?
Rending 6-up. I think rending's gone. It's not the first time that's come up, but rending's just gone, replaced by breaching.
Interesting. So That's interesting because if it's the same breaching rule, it means that it can't do that much against vehicles, right? I mean, that's the benefit of the rending. It was
Was the
able to.
auto wound was the big thing on rending, if it's
Yes.
not changed.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. But you reckon so? Your money's on that it's just gone completely.
I reckon rending's gone.
Yeah. Okay. Power X. So this is the fruitiest change. So you're now at the -1 initiative. Its base attacks, it's +1 strength, it's AP3, it's damage 1, but it's breaching 5 up. So, if you compare it to the sword, what you're kind of saying is, yeah, you get better stats on the whole. You're +1 to strength and it's breaching 5 up, but you're going after a power sword. Now, you always went last anyway in combat if you had a power X before, but I think because they're closer together in terms of the initiative steps now, I think it's going to be a harder choice about which one to have. I think the other thing is that we obviously looked on Wednesday at our 4 different kinds of tactical statuses, and it doesn't matter what initiative you go at. It looks like you're always going at you're going last in close combat anyway, no matter what, if you're one of those tactical statuses. So interesting to see. And then we had the Power Fist. So at -3 initiative, which means you're going at initiative 1, 4 take away 3, maths. Base attacks is +4 strength, so it's going at, for Marines at strength 8. It's AP2, as we expect, and it's damage 2 this time as well. So I guess that feels much more like how kind of a Thunder Hammer would usually act, causing damage 2. And it has no special rules whatsoever, which is very, very interesting.
2 damage balances out, but it's not instant death anymore because that seemingly isn't a thing. I think the big thing to take away is it's -3 modifier, which on a tactical sergeant puts you initiative 1. On a Praetor who's initiative 5.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, it's initiative 2.
So
that's what I was gonna
if you've
say,
got a challenge, but on challenges is different. We know that's coming next week. But if you've got a sergeant with power fist versus a Praetor with power fist, it's not mutual annihilation. It's the Praetor smashes him into the ground first and keeps on trucking.
Kerry, that's a great. Kerry.
Yeah.
You can see why he's the brains behind the outfit. Can't
But literally, power fists become so much better the better the character it's on.
Yeah.
You know, like you're increasing your attacks, you're increasing, so you're still going initiative 2 on a.
You imagine, because it might be like a Thunder Hammer. A Thunder Hammer is initiative 1 permanently, or it's initiative -4. So then you go, oh, hang on, I've now got power fist or a Thunder Hammer. The hammer hits harder, but the fist goes first.
Yeah, that's interesting. So the other thing to just pull out of this is that it doesn't look like. So before, all these weapons used to, with the exception of the Power Fist, which said Specialist, all these weapons used to have melee in them, which meant that you got +1 attack for a bolt pistol or like a pistol, and then a close combat weapon. It doesn't seem to be the case, and it's interesting with the basic close combat weapon. It says melee. It does so melee as a trait exists, but all the other traits are power. So it looks like, because usually it would fall under the special rule. So will it give you an additional weapon if you have a bolt pistol and a power sword, or not?
There's wording in the wording of the article. Again, you give it a pinch of salt, but it says single lines of attack modifiers could be based around having paired weapons or that sort of thing.
Right.
So that sounds like if you've got a guy with 2 swords, 2 close combat weapons, that extra attacks are built into the attack modifier of the weapon, as opposed to being just generic, I've got 2 close combat weapons, so I get a bonus attack for arbitrary reasons.
It's interesting though, because the base attack on the sergeants are just 1 now. Like within the stat line that we saw, it's just 1. So like even a sergeant looks like it's going to cause a lot less damage now. Like, I mean, I don't know whether we get like charge bonuses or not. I'd imagine we still get charge bonuses, but a sergeant's like power is just, the amount of attacks has just gone down by a third, right, in comparison to what it used to be, just from having a look at that. But again, we don't know, maybe the power trait means you get an additional, attack for having a power weapon and a shooty weapon. So
it might be if you have the pistol rule, the pistol just gives you an extra attack in close combat.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah. So really, really interesting. Okay, let's have a look. I think that's probably rounded it off now. So I think we can probably just just finish up. So there was an awful lot to unpick, and exactly as you said, Kerry, there it's not just about what was said; it was about what was left unsaid. You know, any thoughts? Anything that on the article? Should we start with you, Kerry? What's your thinking?
I think it mentioned hull point. I meant to say we didn't talk about it. It mentions hull ports and hull points on vehicles, which will hopefully ease some people's concerns that vehicles were going to wounds.
And more hull points on
Yes.
tanks just in general, right? Yeah.
And obviously, we're still looking at this in isolation. Melters look horrific, but a melter gun could be 45 points.
Yeah. That's a good point. Yeah, that's true. Lee, what's your thoughts and feelings on the article?
Exactly what Kerry said, really. This is a snapshot, isn't it? So we look at melter guns and we're like, oh God, they're awful. Everyone's going to be running melter guns, but we don't actually know what else is coming. What was I can't remember the rule, but vehicles used to have a rule in first edition which basically countered melter.
It was Armored Ceramite.
Armored Ceramite. So I mean, something like that might be coming back, and then actually,
yeah, and you can buy it for dreadnoughts now, right?
Your melter does fuck all. So we don't actually know. So I wouldn't immediately rush out and start building 50 melter gun squads, and but they do look pretty good from what we've seen. But I like it. It's just adding a bit more diversity to the weapons, isn't it? Hopefully we don't just see 10-man Lascannon squads. We've already seen a thing from Flamers on the last one that they're looking pretty tasty, but you're getting different options, aren't you? You're getting things like, right, I'm going to use this. This is going to hunt tanks. I've got this. This is going to suppress the, scoring units, whatever it is. So there's a bit more. From what I've seen so far, I think you're going to have to put a bit more thought process into your list building to what you actually want each unit to achieve. And I think there'll be some crossover with some of those units, which there always has been, like melter gun, Lascannon squads could go after anti-tank, but they're also anti-terminators. That's still going to be the case, it looks like. But I think, you're going to have to do a bit more thought about how am I going to counter these fucking 15 melter gun squads that are going to run around? Am I just going to suppress them? We haven't seen any weapons, like you said, with any of the like causing pinned or anything like that. So it's just a sneak peek, isn't it? So I guess
think
what
the
I'm
last
saying
thing
is don't lose your mind over melter guns quite yet.
Yeah, don't go on eBay and rush and buy 40, right? The other thing I want to talk about just finally is around Legion traits. So I think as we start to see more and more, I guess we can start to predict what Legion traits are going to be linked to. So, for example, it might no longer be that things are -1 strength, but it might be that Legion traits are -1 damage. It might be that you, as we talked about with the Death Guard, it might be rather than because it looks like every Legion is going to be able to move and shoot with those heavy weapons now. But it's just that, at a slight, you don't get the buff for it. But it might be that Death Guard are, they count as stationary when they use their heavy weapons. So they're always getting the buffs. And I would say, and I would argue that that's not quite as powerful as the previous rule. But I think in many ways it's probably a little bit more balanced, actually. Just they always get the buff. They always count as stationary. I would say, that sounds pretty good.
I saw someone posted a rumor on one of the chats earlier on saying that the Death Guard rule was broadly the same, but they can only move their initiative and fire counter stationary, so they're a bit slower. That really exemplifying the slow on purpose.
Yeah, I don't hate that. Yeah, that's
I don't hate
cool.
that either. I think that's pretty cool, actually. Yeah, you heard it here first. Yeah, nice. Cool. Okay, well, let's leave it there for today. We'll let people speculate in the comments down below. If there's anything that we missed, let us know in the comments below. If there's any wild theories or rumors that you've heard, also comment in the comment section down below. The other thing that we didn't talk about, actually, right at the start, the top of the show, is that the Saturnine box appeared yesterday on eBay. Up for sale in America, apparently. So if you're one of those lucky people who managed to nab one, enjoy your new box before everybody else. I don't know how useful Kerry made the amazing point yesterday on our WhatsApp chat. He said, sure, having the rulebook is good, but if you don't have the levers, then you've only got half the information. Like, you can only make some guesses about how some things are going to perform without the levers. And if all the weapons profiles are in the levers, you kind of a bit like, "Ooh, how exactly is this going to work?" But enjoy your new boxes if you were one of the 3 people who managed to.
Feel free to post us a rulebook.
No, and we would not accept it. Don't send it to us at all.
Yes, we definitely wouldn't accept it.
Right. Okay. Well, with that, we are going to bid you farewell. Make sure you give us a like. Make sure you are subscribed if you're not subscribed already. And make sure you check out our Patreon and sign up for the 7-day free trial because we know that you will enjoy it. Anyway, take care, guys, and we'll see you on the next one.
Take care.